So you're thinking about moving to Tracy, California, and you want to know all there is about the good, the bad, and the ugly before you move there. There's a lot of really great features to Tracy, but we can't dance around it. There's also some cons, just like any place. Now, if you're a local, it's super easy for you to just take a quick drive over there, spend maybe a day and afternoon, and see what there is to love, or maybe not to love about the area. But if you're not from the area and you're considering moving there, then that's what this video is all about, to give you, like I said, the pros and the cons, and see which one outweighs the other, and see if it's a good decision for you. So let's get into it. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know all there is to living in the Central Valley of California, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the very first to learn about the current market in the Central Valley of California. Hey, my name's Alex. I'm a realtor based out of Turlock, and I get calls from people just like you every single day about relocating here to the Central Valley or just making a move within different counties. So if you are curious about moving here, I don't care if you're moving now or it's in 3 months from now, feel free to give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email, and we can sit down to discuss what exactly it is that you're looking for and to go over the process. Now, Tracy, California is the next booming city here in the Central Valley. It's located just about 60 miles east of San Francisco, and it's super commuter friendly because, well, it's actually shaped like a triangle, and it's located all the way around from the 5, the 205, and the 580. So if you're a commuter, which a lot of people are that live there, then this is the city for you. As of 2023, they had a population of about 98,000. I'm sure that has definitely grown since then, especially with all the new build communities that we're seeing pop up just about everywhere in Tracy. But Tracy is also extremely convenient. You have to travel a lot. Stockton Airport's really close to nearby, and we also do have major airport hubs, international airports as well too, with different options all around Tracy. So we have San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland, Sacramento's not that far either, all within about an hour and a half to 2 hour driving distance of Tracy. Now, if you take a look at niche.com, one of my favorite platforms to check some of the ratings for different areas, Tracy actually has a fairly decent rating compared to a lot of other California communities. So overall, it gets a score of a B- on their A through F scale. For public schools, they have a B+. Housing is at a C-. Now, that doesn't sound that great, but they're improving the housing situation because, like I said, there's a lot of new communities coming in. The reason for this lower rating too could be potentially because of the higher prices. Keep in mind, any of these California communities, even in the Central Valley, where we're significantly cheaper than the rest of the state, it's still going to be considerably, probably higher than a lot of other places throughout the US, simply because we're over here on the West Coast. Now, in terms of crime and safety, it does have a C. We've seen there's been some uptake in property-related incidents, but on violent crime, supposedly according to niche.com, it's been on the downward trend, which is fantastic. Nightlife, it's given a B, diversity an A, and good for families rated at a B-. Now, just a quick few more stats about Tracy so you can get a better idea of what the living situation looks like in this community. The average house price is $653,000. In comparison, the monthly average rent is about $2,300 a month. Now, looking at the owner-occupied versus rental-occupied, we have about 64% of the homes in Tracy being owner-occupied. And this is a huge number. And you'll actually see throughout the Central Valley, when I go over some different areas to live in, that we on average have a very high owner occupancy rate, despite having some higher home prices. So I think it's a mix of the cultural beliefs here, the different belief systems, and it's definitely a buyer-centric state. We really believe here that, buying a home is truly the American dream. And a lot of people make it happen, even if they have to do multi-generational living or buying a home with someone else. It doesn't matter. A lot of people are making it happen here. So despite some of these high home prices, we have 64% of these homes that are owned and lived in by its actual occupants. So that's fantastic. Another significant number, we have our median household income in Tracy is about $118,000. All right, so in this video, we're going to go over quite a few important topics. We're going to go over the good and the bad and the ugly. So let's take a look at some of these pros and cons, and then you can be the judge whether the pros or the cons outweigh each other, and if this might be a good fit for you to move here. So one of the biggest pros I want to talk about living in Tracy, as well as you'll see me talk about all of the different communities in the Central Valley, is its affordability in terms of housing. Now, this probably sounds funny, especially for any of you that are out of state thinking, you just said the median house price is $650,000. How in the world is that affordable? Well, you have to take a look at it from a bigger picture. And depending on who you ask, this is actually a really big topic for debate here. So if you ask some people that live in the Central Valley that are a little bit more south going towards Stanislaus or Merced County, they're going to say, yeah, Tracy is higher than what we have to pay. But when I say affordability, I'm comparing it to the Bay Area, which, like I said, most people that live in Tracy work in the Bay. So that's where the comparison comes from. So as I mentioned, about 64% of homes in Tracy are owner occupied. Now we're going to look at a couple counties to compare it to, including Alameda County and San Francisco County, the two main counties in the Bay Area. And if you're looking at San Francisco County, only about 38% of homes are owner occupied. So that just really shows the lack of affordable housing available there. And then if you're also looking at the median sales price in San Francisco County, you're looking at about $1.38 million. Now, when you think of $1 million property, you probably think of something extravagant and beautiful. And don't get me wrong, these homes are pretty and they're in a fantastic location. But for $1.38 million, and that's the average price, you're looking at just standard homes, nothing really that special about it. If you're looking at Alameda County, so this encompasses like Fremont area, it's a little bit lower. It comes out to right at above $1 million is the median household price. Now, keep in mind, even though the median house price is about $650,000 in Tracy, that's just the median average. There is a huge range depending on what you're looking for. So I looked back in the past 90 days to get an idea of what's been going on in the current market in Tracy, and the lowest price home actually sold for $345,000. Now keep in mind, if you're getting a home in the $300,000, $400,000s in Tracy, it's likely going to need work. It's going to be older, maybe not that big of a lot, probably significant work needed to it, but those deals are out there if you do that. You can't find deals like that in the Bay Area, maybe for a shack, I don't know. But then the highest price home in Tracy, just to show the big range that we have, sold in the last 90 days for $2.1 million. Now, this home was actually only on the market for 28 days. And considering the price, which is significantly higher than the average here, that's really fast. So that's showing you we've got a lot of people with money coming from the Bay Area able to purchase these because, mind you, that home was paid for in cash. There was no loan taken out on it. It was paid in cash. So that just shows the amount of people that are moving from the Bay and taking advantage of these lower home prices in Tracy. So, but for that high of a price though, keep in mind, this came with the full package. It almost out on a 1 acre lot, private gated community, almost 5,000 square feet of living space in that house. So any possible stylish upgrade you can think of, that house had it. So to give you a comparison though, recently in the last 90 days, a home that sold for around not exactly, but around 2.1 million in San Francisco was only a bit over 1,600 square feet and only had a 1,700 square foot lot, which if you're not familiar with the sizes, that's pretty much nothing. Imagine like just a little tiny backyard, probably not even a strip of grass, just some really low maintenance plants or gravel in the backyard. Now, like I said, this whole affordability thing is a huge debate if you're talking to the Bay Area people versus Central Valley. Like I said, if you go a little bit more south towards Stanislaus and Merced counties, you can get something cheaper than you can in Tracy. And like I said, it's a lot of these Bay Area people that are driving up these prices due to the convenient commuter access to Tracy. So if you were to go to Stanislaus County, the median home price is around $426,000, which is a couple $100,000 drop from Tracy. And that's just a 45-minute drive from there, 30 minutes, depending on where you're coming from. So we keep in mind though that we do have a lot of commuters in Stanislaus County as well. We have a lot of people that choose to move there because it's a little bit even cheaper than Tracy. But if you do choose to move to Stanislaus or Merced County and still commute to the Bay, your commute is going to be double the amount that it's going to be from Tracy. So pros and cons to each, but just something to consider. Now, a lot of people, of course, keep saying, the housing market's going to crash. How could anyone possibly afford just medium $650,000 sales price? But home sales have been consistent in Tracy, and there's actually no indicator that there's going to be any market crash anytime soon. So even though the median is $650,000, the average is actually up at $760,000. Because that takes more into account the wider range. Median is usually a little bit better to look at. But on average, homes are selling for about 98% of their list price. So whatever it's listed at, they're usually getting about 98% of what they're asking for. And that's huge. If we were looking towards some giant crash, then house prices would just be going down like crazy. But we're not seeing that yet here. Now, for all of you investors out there, keep in mind that Tracy is about 36% rental occupied. So this could be a really good opportunity for you. If you wait any longer, I'm sure house prices will continue to go up, and then it may not be feasible for you to be a landlord there anymore. And there are some of these lower priced properties that do need work that maybe first time home buyers don't want to put the money or time into fixing up. And this can be a really great option for you. Now, the next pro to living in Tracy is you get the perfect balance of small town charm with big city access. Tracy is known to have a fairly welcoming feel. It actually started in the 1800s as a railroad community. A big railroad hub was started there, and that's what actually spurred a lot of growth for Tracy. So even though it's starting to turn kind of into an extension of the Bay Area, it is still very farmland oriented and community oriented. So Tracy has a very strong local feel. They do farmers markets on the weekends. They have a lot of local events. Their Chamber of Commerce puts on a lot of events too. So you really do have that small town feel still. Now, Tracy actually has a really beautiful historic downtown. It's very quaint, and it has a lot of local shops run by a lot of small businesses, mom and pop kind of stores. So they really do support those smaller communities versus in the Bay. You see that sometimes, but you get a lot of those bigger name brand chain stores. So in Tracy, they really do value those local small businesses. Now, the downtown is also filled with a ton of beautiful architecture. It has a lot of that 1800s style to it, and they actually revitalized the downtown in 2007. So they did a lot of sidewalk cleanup, repaved the streets, put all new lampposts in, and it really brings a much more welcoming feel to do different events like that, and welcomes a lot of people. So one of their biggest draws as well too is the Grand Theater Center for the Arts, which they also revitalized in 2007. It's a building from the 1920s where they do live performances. It's absolutely beautiful. And I think it's great to see how they've been revitalizing everything to try and keep that small town charm that Tracy has always been known for. Now, this next pro is absolutely huge, and it's what makes Tracy very attractive to a lot of people, and that is the job opportunities. Because of its central location being that triangle next to the 205 and 580, there's a lot of huge companies that are coming into Tracy because of its optimal location and ease of access for transportation. So it's huge hubs for logistics and distribution. Just to name a few of the companies, we have big warehouses from Amazon, Safeway, FedEx, and Medline coming into Tracy and setting up big big warehouses and establishments there because it's in the perfect location. We've seen a lot of increase in healthcare with Sutter Health coming into Tracy. So there's a lot of upticks in jobs and job opportunities for new residents in Tracy. Now, of course, when it comes to job opportunities, a lot of people think of the Bay Area. And as I've mentioned multiple times throughout the video, Tracy is super conveniently close to the Bay Area, only 50 to 60 miles from Silicon Valley. So you could have work in San Jose, San Francisco, any of those surrounding areas, making it a really attractive place to live if you are a working professional and looking for a job in those usually tech-related industries or something like that. So if a lot of you that want to take advantage of this, they can have these high-paying, stable jobs, but still be able to have a little bit more affordable housing within Tracy itself. Now, after COVID, a lot of these Bay Area companies actually are offering some remote work and only having to come into the office a couple days a week. So this is a huge advantage to a lot of these employees where maybe they only have to commute once, twice, or maybe 3 days a week. And then the other days they get to work remotely. So that saves them on their commuting times, their gas, the wear and tear on their car, all while benefiting from that higher salary or employment. Now, there is another option if you don't want to drive. They do have the ACE train in Tracy, which provides an alternative route. It takes you directly to San Jose, Santa Clara, Fremont, and some other places. Now, within the city of Tracy itself, Tracy is very local business oriented and business friendly. There's lots of different incentives for small businesses, which is why we've seen the downtown in the past decade be filled with small restaurants, local boutiques, and service-based industries. We're also seeing a lot of people from the Bay move to Tracy to start up their own businesses because the cost to start something up in Tracy is significantly less than in the Bay Area. So, such as even just, renting out the space, leasing their offices and things like that. So their Chamber of Commerce is also really supportive and offers a lot of resources for any business owners within the city. Now, a big one that Tracy is starting to touch into is the tech and industrial industry and expanding those different areas. So they're expanding it because they have new business parks coming to Tracy. As I said, a lot of employers are wanting to work there. And we're seeing the International Park of Commerce, which is one of the largest business parks in all of Northern California, attracting a lot of high-tech logistics and corporate businesses to come to Tracy. Now, like any Central Valley community, I can't mention Tracy without talking about the agricultural opportunities. Even though we're seeing a lot of big companies come in and take over a lot of this land, we still have the Central Valley, including Tracy, is still a major hub for providing food for the rest of the United States. So we located in the San Joaquin Valley, Tracy being part of the Central Valley, San Joaquin County, being part of the Central Valley, it's one of the largest agricultural hubs in the entire world. Not just the United States, one of the biggest hubs in the whole world. So there's a lot of jobs in farming, food processing, agricultural technology, and different things like that. So there's always a role for farmers here, and Tracy is one of those communities. So if I haven't made it clear enough during this entire video, one of the biggest pros living in Tracy is the commuter access to the Bay Area. It's a triangle. It's surrounded by the 5, the 205, and the 580. So whichever way you want to go, it's super easy to jump on any of those freeways and head to the Bay Area. So get a lot of people that like to commute there and work in the Bay. A lot of people drive to these big hubs like Livermore, San Jose, Pleasanton for a lot of career opportunities. Traffic congestion can be a bit much, especially during peak rush hour, and the average commute time for people in Tracy is significantly higher than the rest of the average commute time for the national average of 26 minutes. But there's a lot of different options and new things coming and that give different options for these commuters. So you don't have to just drive. We do have the ACE train, which is a really popular public transportation option. So this train is really crucial in the transit industry because, again, it's so backed up with cars that this takes you directly to San Jose, Livermore, Fremont, and a lot of these places that people are working. It's also a lot cheaper to take this train sometimes because you don't have the wear and tear on your car. You're not paying for gas, as well as it does save you time too. And time is money, as we all know. So being able to take this train is a huge benefit. Now, depending on where you're at in Tracy, you may have to drive to the actual train station or take a bus. But once you're on it, usually you're there within a stop or two. Super convenient. Now, another option for commuters is the BART, which is the Bay Area Rapid Transit Service. So the BART isn't necessarily directly in Tracy, but there are options if you want to take a bus or drive your car directly to their transit center. That would cut your commute time significantly. So you're only driving to the BART, and then you don't have to actually worry about driving the rest of the way. And it usually takes you to Dublin, Pleasanton, Oakland, but the ACE train seems to be a lot more popular, a lot more efficient, just a lot faster in general. But the BART is an option as well too, depending on exactly where you're commuting to. Now, the last pro I want to talk about living in Tracy is some of the outdoor recreation. It's very outdoor friendly. A lot of people like to spend their time outdoors. We do get some pretty nice weather in Tracy. It can be pretty hot in the summer and it does get windy. However, like I said, a lot of people like to spend their time outdoors. And one of the biggest attractions that's on the far outskirts of Tracy is the Carnegie State Vehicular Recreation Area. That one's a mouthful, so try saying that one 5 times fast. But pretty much it's a huge area. It's over 1,300 acres with over 80 miles of trails if you want to go dirt biking or off-roading. So it's a lot of fun if you're into that. And a lot of people here in the Central Valley do have those types of motor vehicles. Or I shouldn't say a lot of people do, but a lot of people enjoy going on that type because we have a lot of outdoor spaces here. So it gives you a lot of opportunity, unlike big cities where you can ride a dirt bike around. I couldn't even imagine, riding a quad around in the middle of San Francisco. I guess you could, but or probably not legally. But my point is, here in the Central Valley, we have a lot more opportunities for that. And this recreation area is huge. Now, if you don't have those types of, four-wheel or two-wheel drive vehicles for this type of thing. It's also for sightseeing. They have a lot of beautiful natural scenery, as well as you can see some wildlife. So there's deer, elk, and bobcats within this area, as well as you can go camping and picnicking here. So if you want to just go for day use, it's really beautiful, especially on a nice day out. And if you're into camping, then it's also a great area because they have some overnight areas that you can stay. And this is all within, probably 20 minutes of Tracy or so. It's technically Tracy, but it's on the outskirts. Obviously, this huge 1,300 plus 100-acre area is in the middle of town. So it's living on the outskirts, but it's a really great opportunity and something that you don't get to see in the Bay. Now, Tracy also has really close proximity to other hiking trails, different outdoor areas as well. So if you're willing to drive a little bit, there is a lot of great options, such as it's really pretty, just a short drive to Mount Diablo, where you can go hiking, camping, fishing, day use, overnight, whatever you want to do. They have options for that. Now, the San Joaquin Wildlife Preserve or Refuge, I should say, is also really nearby. A lot of beautiful sights. If you're into bird watching, there's a lot of birds there. A lot of great places for going on walks too. So if you're into nature walks, this is a great area for you, and it's a pretty short drive. Now, if you're a huge hiker and just big outdoor enthusiast, I'll mention this in some of my other videos too, but the Central Valley and Tracy in general is super close to Yosemite, which is obviously one of the most popular and I would argue one of the most well-known landmarks and place for outdoor lovers within the United States. A lot of people like to go hike Half Dome, but if you're not into Half Dome, there's a lot of other trails that are easier as well too. I recommend going to the Upper Yosemite Falls Trail, especially in the springtime, right after it's been raining a lot in the winter, is one of the best times to go. It's absolutely beautiful. Don't stand too close because you may get wet with the mist, but that's about a 2.5-hour drive from Tracy. So really not that far if you're an outdoor enthusiast. Now within Tracy, there's also a lot of parks and green spaces. I think Tracy has about 80 or a little bit over 80 different parks and green spaces. So if you want to go picnicking, if you want to go to a playground, if you just want to be out and, just enjoy the fresh air, go on a nice walk, Tracy offers quite a few areas like that. A lot of these new communities too, some of these master plan communities even have a lot of their own parks and green spaces within their own area. So not to mention within Tracy too, if you're an outdoor person, they also have a lot of youth different sports leagues, as well as adult sports leagues too. So I personally am on adult sports leagues, a soccer league. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's a great way to stay active, especially if it's a sport that you absolutely love and have always had a passion for. And even if it's something you don't have a passion for, I think it's a great exercise. So Tracy does offer a lot of for kids, of course, but also for adults too, including, I want to say, soccer, basketball, and softball. I think those are the three. I might be wrong, but I know it's soccer for sure. But they offer a lot of different things. So there's opportunities for you to get out there, meet some people, and just have a fun time. Now, I know I've been talking about a lot of great benefits to Tracy, and there are, but I did promise you that we would talk about some of the bad side and the cons to living in Tracy, California. So let's get into that and take a look at some of those. Now, the first one, and I know I keep talking about all these commuters and you're probably sick of it by now, but really the biggest con is the traffic and the horrible commuting times. Within the city of Tracy itself, it's not that horrible, but a lot of people are commuting. So trying to leave Tracy during the day to go, or in the morning to go to the Bay, and then coming back in the evening can be quite the hassle. I mentioned San Francisco is about 60 miles from Tracy as well, and San Jose is closer to about 50 miles or so. Really, it's not that far. On a good day, it should only take an hour. But with so many people commuting and choosing to take cars rather than public transportation, sometimes these commutes can take, a couple hours, bumper to bumper traffic, especially if you're going right during rush hour. Now, if you were to live in the Bay and commute to Tracy, which you don't really see that often, I guess you wouldn't have any traffic because you're going the opposite direction. But for the most part, everyone's from Tracy going to the Bay. So you can expect bumper to bumper traffic if you do work normal 9 to 5 hour type of job. Now, one section that causes a lot of issues is on the Altamont Pass. Now, a bottleneck is formed here. There's a lot of merging traffic going on here, and that causes a lot of backup. And unfortunately, if you're going to the Bay, there's really no way around going that way on the 580. So if you do take an alternate route, even without traffic, it's going to take you so far off your path, it's probably not worth it. So a lot of these commuters have to go through this bottleneck, and that's what it takes so long, is with all these different lanes coming, going, and merging. Especially, we get a lot of semi trucks out here too, which, they have different speed limits. I think they're only supposed to go up to 55 miles an hour. So that can cause congestion as well too. So like I said, if you're commuting to the Bay, I guarantee you'll experience traffic. And that's just something that you'll have to be okay with if you do want to live in Tracy and work in the Silicon Valley or different parts of the Bay. Something else to consider with this traffic and everything is your cost of your commute. Everything's going up in California like everywhere else. So with the rising, gas prices, maintenance for cars in general, just getting oil changes, changing tires, it can be extremely costly to be a commuter when you're putting on, thousands or hundreds of miles on your vehicle per week. Keep in mind too, depending on which parts, if you have to actually go into the Bay, not just Silicon Valley, there's a good chance you're going to have to pass through a bridge, especially either the Bay Bridge or the San Mateo Bridge. And those are toll bridges. Now, one thing I would recommend if you are commuting is to get the fast track it's like a little device you put in your dashboard of your car, and you register your license plate. With this, you can go in the fast lane, essentially. Think of it as like it's a fast pass at an amusement park. I mean, it's pretty much what it is. You can go in a special lane that only people that have this have. And there's different options for it, but I think they have one where you pretty much only get charged if you're using it through the tolls. If you are carpooling, they do have benefits for that too. Keep that in mind too. If you are going with someone to work nearby, I do recommend carpooling if that's an option for you, because you can go in the carpool lane, so that makes it a lot faster. But look into the fast track. I think it's called Fast Track Flex or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's definitely fast track. And the benefit to that too is when you get to these toll bridges, it used to be where everyone would have to stop and pay, but since COVID, you can just drive through. Now the difference is if you have the little fast track thing, it'll just automatically charge on your account for that. Where if you don't have the fast track and you're going through these toll bridges every day, they're going to send you a bill. I don't think they physically send it, but they're going to email you a bill. Somehow they get your information, send you a bill, and you will have to pay that. So it's very inconvenient if you're going through that multiple times every single day to have to keep going online and paying that. So fast track is definitely something you should look into, and it's definitely worthwhile. Now, what is Tracy and the city of California doing to combat this traffic? To me, it doesn't seem like much at the time, but they actually are working on some projects. So the Corral Hollow Corridor project will work on, there's a specific road in Tracy. It's, I think, 2 lanes right now, and they're planning on expanding those lanes to help with some of the congestion and safety. Now, another one is on the 205 in Mountain House, that area, in the Mountain House Parkway interchange. It's the interchange improvement is what they're calling it. But essentially, it's going to start work in July of 2025. And it's supposed to end in 2026. I say supposed to because that's just the tentative date, but we shall see how long it actually ends up taking. But that one's also supposed to convert it into like a clover leaf kind of design. So it's a little bit easier to merge and makes it a lot faster to get through. So I'm curious to see in a couple years from now how that actually looks, what the benefits are to it, and if it actually does help with any traffic at all. Now, the second con to living in Tracy, like anywhere in the Central Valley, is the heat. We get really hot summer days, reaching over 100 degrees just about every day. Here in the Central Valley, we actually think it's a nice cool day if it's in the 90s in the summer. So if you are moving from an area that's much cooler, even if you're moving from an area in California that's along the coast, this is going to be a bit of a change for you. But I can guarantee that you get used to it, honestly. I mean, I was born and raised in the Central Valley, so I was used to it for a long time. But like I said, I did live in San Jose for a bit, which has cooler weather. And I also did live in San Diego for a bit, which has one of the, I mean, I loved it. There was one of the it's rated one of the best temperatures throughout like the United States. It's like 70 degrees throughout the year. But my point is, I moved away for a few years and was still able to come back and readjust to it. So you will notice though too, once you do adjust to it, when you go to other places, especially during the winter, you're going to freeze. So I can't visit anywhere in the winter, especially if it snows. I don't do snow. But you will adjust to it, I promise. But that is one thing definitely to be aware of. Now, it can impact your daily life if you are new to it. It is absolutely sweltering in the summer. If it's, 110, 115 degrees, there's not much you can do outside unless you have a swimming pool or are going to a lake. But besides that, we get used to it and we continue on with our daily life. Now, keep in mind, our heat here is a dry heat. It's not a humid heat. So that is, I mean, in my opinion, I think it's a pro. If it was humid, my hair would be giant frizzy. And it's also, it's kind of like when you think of the South in the US. You step outside and it's so humid out there and you just feel the sweat starting on you and your skin's already damp just from stepping outside. Here it's a dry heat, so it's not quite as suffocating. I think that's a great word for it, honestly. Yeah, it's not suffocating. It's hot, don't get me wrong, but you don't have that humidity here. Now, another con to living in Tracy that I don't think is talked about enough is a lot of Mello-Roos tax that's implemented in especially a lot of these new build communities. Now, if you're not from California, you're probably not familiar with Mello-Roos since it is specific to this state. So pretty much Mello-Roos is a special tax in California that's imposed on newer developments to help fund infrastructure for schools, parks, public safety, community services, and just a whole list of different things. And this additional cost added onto your taxes every year, your property taxes, I should say, could stay on for 20 to 40 years until that assessment is done. And this could add thousands of dollars to your property taxes every year. Now, like I've mentioned, Tracy has a ton of new build communities since it's expanding like crazy, and there's a huge a lot of people relocating to Tracy from different areas throughout the US and even the Bay especially. So all these new build communities, I shouldn't say all, but a good majority of them do have this Mello-Roos tax. Now, I do understand it can be a benefit in certain ways just because you are getting that access to that, all that infrastructure, those parks, those schools, and ensuring that they really are fantastic and in great condition. Like I said, at the same time, it can really add on a huge extra cost to your home ownership. We already have higher home prices compared to some of the other Central Valley, lower than the Bay, but it is higher than, the national average for home prices. So adding on this Mello-Roos tax could be a pretty big hit to you as a homeowner if you're not prepared. So whoever you're working with when you are buying a house, you definitely need to research to see if the community that you are moving into has this Mello-Roos tax, because like I said, that could cost you thousands extra every year, and you need to be aware of it. A lot of people will move into these, not be aware of that tax. They think it's just like a normal property tax. They get that first property tax bill and they're just like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? Why is it? We get calls as a realtor, why is my bill so high? What is going on? And unfortunately, it's not something you can just opt out of. If you want to live in that community, you have to pay that tax. So, is Tracy a great place to live? I think after watching this video, the option falls on you because we've given you a lot of pros, a lot of cons, a lot of good, a lot of bad. So it gives you a really deep insight into whether Tracy could be the right community for you to move into. Now, Tracy is growing at such a rapid pace that I think it really could be the next major hub. We're seeing so much expansion and just growth and opportunities that I think it could be a great time for you to move there before that major boom comes. And on the living side, I have to say, I absolutely do love how close Tracy is to the Bay Area. It is, even though it's a smaller town, not quite as many amenities, but it's so convenient if you just want to take a nice weekend trip, or even not even a full weekend, just a day trip to the Bay Area, visit San Francisco, maybe go to Carmel, Monterey, any of those areas. It's really convenient to do something like that. I'm personally out of Stanislaus County, so it takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to San Francisco on a weekend. But from Tracy, you can just be there within an hour or so and just have a really, really nice day there. So overall, after looking at all this, I personally think that the pros really outweigh the cons here, but ultimately it's up to you. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you do live in Tracy, what it's like, as well as if you're thinking of moving to Tracy, what your thoughts are on the video and weighing these different pros and cons. I really hope you found that video helpful. Whether you're planning on moving right now or in 3 months from now, feel free to send me a text, give me a call, shoot me an email, or you can schedule a Zoom call with me. All of that is in the description below. Feel free to reach out to me at any time and we can go over what your plans are for moving to the Central Valley, maybe even Tracy specifically. And until next time, I hope to show you around town.